Hello everyone, this is Paradox Gaming here with a new series on Python. Python is a programming language and it's for 32 and 64-bit computers. You can make text-based games with it. You can also import modules to make proper games like Pygame, but I won't get into that. You can learn that on other videos on other YouTube channels. Today I'm going to teach you the basics of the data types and the data structures. Okay, so to get Python, open up your web browser, go to Google or any search engine you use on any web browser. I use Chrome, and type in Python. The first thing that should come up is welcome to python.org. This is the main website where you can get everything related to Python, tips and programming commands and that. So click on that, and if you click on downloads, you could have done it on the Google section there. You can download Python 3.50, so 3.5.0, the newest version, or the 2.7.10. This is for people, it's not really actually better than this one, it's just if you prefer this one, the classic version. It can do less really. So you download this, then it would download, but I've already got it, so I'm not going to do that. And after it's downloaded, you can just install it, install the packages you want, it will install. Pick a directory, an area on your computer you want to install it to, like your C drive or a D drive, and then you can run the program. When you run it though, you want to do, so you come here, you want to do, type in Python on your computer, search, and then you want to do idle, this section here. You don't want to do you can do the command prompt, but it's not as nice looking as the idle, the interactive development environment. You want that. Okay, so when you've finally clicked on idle, your interactive development environment, after you've installed it, this should pop up. This is your IDE, your interactive development environment. Well, it's really the shell. The interactive development environment is where you program all your code for a game or a project. Mainly Python is used to make websites, so yeah. Okay, this is the coding behind websites. It will tell you, the date, blah blah blah, the time, what bit you're using, Intel, the graphics card, or Windows 32. Okay, and these three arrows represent the start of a line of code. In the shell, you don't really make projects. You can click on File, and then go to New File, and that's where you make a new project. You can save it then on. For the shell, this is where you basically test bits of code out and do what you like. You can just set a value. So yeah, I'm going to use the shell for this video because I don't want to make a project right now. I just want to start off making a simple explanation to certain data types and data structures. So for example, the first data structure we'll be looking at is a variable. A variable is a data structure, and data structures carry data. They are a name which has been assigned a type of data, basically, that you give them a name. So we'll start off with a variable. We'll call it dogs. Okay? So that variable is called dogs. It's not actually a value. So that is a data structure. And we're going to give it the value 2. That is a data type. The 2 means it's an integer, because integers are whole numbers. That is a data type. So now that has the value 2, it doesn't have a string which is letters. If I press return or enter, I can now type in dogs and it should print out the value 2 as a number. Now we're going to do a different data type. So these are variables. The point about variables is the word dogs is the variable. They can be reassigned at any point in your code. You can change them to mean anything, different data types, anything you like. You can add stuff to them. I won't go into that right now though. So we're going to reassign dog. So you can reassign it wherever you like. Dogs equals, and we're going to bring in a new data type called strings. And a string is a collection of characters that aren't numbers. Numbers can be in strings, but all strings start out with an apostrophe or quotation marks. This is called single quotation and double quotation. So I do this, so I can See how it's gone green? That is to tell you that it's a string. It's a nice color-coded system. So that means it's got a string value of 2. It's not an actual number that you can do mathematical equations with. See, in Python you can do mathematical equations with adding, subtracting and all that. But with a string you can't do that, and that's why you might want to do it as a string sometimes. It's different to the actual value, the 2 we have at the top here. So this is dogs equals 2, but I'm going to give it a different string value. See, the point is, you can't just type I love Lola, because you might be assigning it a new... See, you can't have spaces in actual variable names, sorry about that. So you might say, okay, dogs equals cats. The point is, what the computer thinks you're trying to do is it thinks you're trying to assign the variable dogs. If you were trying to type in a word, it thinks you're trying to assign the variable dogs to a variable called cats. So if you said you had a variable, see, it'll come up saying cats is not defined. So if I said I had cats equals 2, right? Now if I typed in dogs equals cats, it would define dogs, or assign it the variable which cats has stored in it. So the cats has a variable 2, so dogs will then equal 2. The point is, yes, if you want to assign it words, you can't just write in actual letters. You need quotation marks or a single quotation mark. So I'll type in dogs, and then I'll do equals I love them. Now when we type in dogs, it'll print out I love them. There we go. We've learnt 2 data types. So if you wanted to type in words and you type in without quotation marks, it will think you're trying to assign the variable with another variable's value. Now we're going to learn a new kind of data type. It's called Boolean. And Boolean logic is basically what computers are made in. It's bits, 1s and 0s. Those 1s and 0s, you know, in binary code, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, you've probably seen it a lot, is basically saying to a computer, because it has billions of transistors inside it, whether it's on or off. It's basically on, off. Transistor is open or closed. Open, closed. On, off. True, false. And the Boolean value is literally true or false. And you know if you've done it right. So we said, okay, dogs equals true. That means, basically, I've just said equals true. So then we can make stuff saying if that does equal true, then we can do other things. So that's basically true. It will colour code it orange just to let you know you've done it right. If it doesn't come up orange, then you've done it wrong. See, it doesn't come up orange there. And the opposite, of course, is false. So then it's a Boolean because it can only be one of 2 values. Boolean logic. So now dogs equals false. If I type in dogs, it's false. It's not true. There we go. And there's one more data type you need to know in order to be, getting the basics, is floating numbers. So a floating number is the opposite of an integer. Well, not the opposite directly, but it's an integer with a decimal value after it. So if I said dogs equals 3.5, for all purposes you can't actually have 3.5 dogs, but yes. Now, dogs is an actual floating number. That's not an integer. The computer does not recognise that as an integer. It recognises it as a floating number, and I'll show you how. I'll show you why. Because when you do stuff in this game, you can assign it different values, or do stuff, in Python. If I typed in float, which is, I think it's, you should type in the entire word, it should go purple. So you want to float a certain number, so floating point. If I type in dogs, it will stay the same. Type in dogs, I think it will. Yeah, stay the same. However, if I type in dogs, so we're actually just floating it itself, now it's going to int itself. So turning it into an integer, which is short for int in Python. You type in int dogs, and now if we type in dogs, it's 3. It got rid of the decimal, and that's proof that it doesn't recognise it's the same. So yes, the next thing we're going to be moving on to is another data structure. Now you see right now, I've been using values like dogs, oh sorry, these are the values on the right side. Values go on the right side. And these are telling it what value it should become. You're reassigning it. This is telling it it's the value of another variable. That's what we've learnt so far. And this is a string, this is an int, and that's Boolean. That's a float. So all of these right now are variables. We're going to learn a new data structure called a list or an array. Now the cool thing about lists is that they can carry more than one type of data, more than one data type, or multiple values of the same data type. For example, and this is how you write out lists. Okay, I'm typing dogs, right? And this is my dog. These are all my dogs' names. Okay, these aren't real dogs, but I'm just gonna make them up. So to start off a list, you do a square bracket, and then you do the first value. Let's say it's a string. I'm going to call him Ryan. That's the name. I wouldn't type in Ryan normally, otherwise it would not understand. It would look for the variable Ryan or list Ryan and try and understand what I'm talking about, but it wouldn't. So now we know it's a word Ryan. Then to do the next item, you do a comma, and I'll do the next name, Fluffy. Fluffy. Wow, I can't write. Okay, and we'll do one more. We'll call it Snuffles. 10 out of 10 if you understand the reference. Okay, so now dogs is a list, and that list is comprised of 3 different items: Ryan, Fluffy, and Snuffles, and they're all of the string data type, like this one is here. So now, if I type in dogs, it will print out all the items inside it. Right, yeah. Now, what if we wanted a specific item in a list, so it can carry multiple pieces of data, making your code more efficient rather than writing each one out like dog_1, dog_2. It's much more efficient to use. So what if we wanted to print a specific one out? Okay, this is how we do it. We'll type in the list, then we do a square bracket because it's inside the list, that's representing the beginning of the list, and we write in the object's index. You don't write in Ryan or the name of the dog, can you? You can't. It does not work, because inside here you don't type in the name of the dog, you type the index. Now the index is the point in the list where the word you're looking for, or variable, sorry, or data type is the value. So it's the index. So you're probably thinking, oh, okay, so for the first item on the list, I would write dog bracket 1, square bracket, and close it, and then you do that. Whereas, oh sorry, I've made a mistake. Let me just write out dogs. Bracket 1, Fluffy. Now you're probably wondering, Ryan is the first one on the list. Why did it print out Fluffy? Well, that's because items in the list start at 0. I know it's stupid. It starts at 0. So most of the time you'll probably be doing this. When you do lengths of something, you'll probably be doing -1 on the end of it. But yes, to get back to 0. So actually, if you want to print the first one out of the list, you do 0. And if you want to do the end one, you take the number in the list and subtract 1. So it would be dogs bracket 2. Snuffles. If you try to do an object that wasn't even in the list, like 3, it would come out saying list index out of range, because the range goes up to 2. Makes perfect sense. Some of these errors, it's quite hard to understand what they're saying, but these ones are quite simple. Now, okay, so now we've got lists out of the way. You can also, oh yeah, we'll talk about a bit more of them later. The basic ideas. So if you want to turn something into a list, like say you've got a variable, dogs equals Ryan. Sorry. Oh, I've got more than one dog now. I want to make that into a list. You do dict, so it goes purple, dogs. Sorry, I did that wrong, I think. I'll correct that later, I think. What have I done? Do I need to do this? Oh, no, forget it for now. Just forget about dicting. You can probably look that up some other time. Okay, we'll move on to the next thing. I know how to add things to lists, it's fine. I'll cover that in the next episode. Okay, the next data structure, other than lists, you can also call them arrays, is a dictionary. Now a dictionary is even more complex than a list. It's basically a list, but every value inside a data type has another value connected to it. So for example, like a dictionary, is what it's named after of course, has a word and then its meaning. You have the data type and its value. Let me show you how you write a dictionary. So first of all, you write the name of your dictionary, which is how you will refer to it. It's a memory location. That's what they're known as, memory locations. It refers to a memory location on your computer which it can call back. So it can go back and look what's in there. So we'll call it dogs, right? And for dictionaries, you don't use square brackets, you use the braces, or curly brackets, or not really curly, they're just braces, call them braces. And you open it by using the open brace, and you type in, say the first data type, we're going to call him Ryan, and then we'll do a colon, and that's how you assign the data type Ryan inside your dictionary, dogs, the value. And then we'll do another string, is awesome. So we'll do that, and we'll close it off. So now, when I type in dogs, it should print out everything inside. Ryan is awesome. Now if you want to get a piece of information or the value assigned to a variable, you would type in dogs, square bracket, and you type in Ryan. So this is when you do type in the variable, and it tells you, see, as we can see, is awesome is assigned to the variable Ryan inside dogs. We've gone to dogs, your computer's going to dogs, checking Ryan, and it finds is awesome. That's pretty cool. Now what you do, if you want to add more things to it or make a longer list, that's what I'll show you for now. You go into dogs, press equals, I'm going to copy and paste that, and you do the same thing you do with a list. You add a comma to the end. Then I'll type in Greg, it's a weird dog name, and then I'll do colon, is horrible. Is horrible, there we go. So now I can call any item I want in that list. Press return. If I do dogs and do an index of 0, for example, it does not understand that because you don't use indexes in list. It just looks for a key, basically. See, the key means the key represents this. That's the key to the actual item, and that's the definition. So you have to type in dogs and the actual item. So let's type in Greg this time. Sorry, I did not type in the quotation marks. It was looking for a variable named Greg rather than an actual string, the word. There you go, it's horrible. And if I wanted it to print out the entire list, dictionary, dogs, Ryan is awesome, Greg is horrible. That's basically dictionaries, variables and lists, the main 3 data structures that you will need to know to make basic things in Python. You can do quite a lot with that already. So now, say, what if I wanted to add something to, let's just go with lists, so dogs equals, and then we'll do Ryan, and what if we wanted to just not reassign it, but add a value to it? Well, what we do is we type in the list of the name, and we do dot append, and this will add a value to the end of the list. Ryan is at index 0, the first thing in the list, so this will put it at index 1, takes the length of the list. So you do dogs.append, square bracket, because it's in the list, and you type in the name, Greg. I'll be back in a while. One sec, sorry. I'll see you in a second. Okay, and the last little bit, sorry. I had a problem there. I did a square bracket for dot append. You don't do a square bracket when you're adding stuff to lists, you do a curly bracket. So if I do Greg, so you do dogs, the list name, it's referring to a memory location, the computer knows where to look for it. Dot append, you're adding, bracket, and the value to the end of the list. So Greg. So we know right now that dogs equals Ryan. Now it's added Greg. So if we type in dogs, we get Ryan and Greg. Dictionaries work a little different, but we'll look at that next time. Thank you for watching. I hope this series does well. If you want to see more, I don't know, I probably won't get any comments because this is my first actual video on any subject other than an introduction. Hope my mic quality is okay. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. Basic ideas on how to assign variables and lists and data types. I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.